All right. Good afternoon, beautiful people. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. I am calling from Oakland, from Ohlone land, and it is a beautiful day. The sun is shining, and it is such a blessing to be able to spend this afternoon with you all. So thank you so much for being here. My name is Marlene Sanchez. I use she and her pronouns. I am the executive director and first formerly incarcerated Chicana to lead this amazing organization. I am honored and proud to be able to bring what I've learned in my 20 plus years of movement organizing into the Ella Baker Center. As many of you know, I moved into this role last spring, and I want to share with you all how I've felt and the support that I've been able to receive from the board and staff. There's so many ways that the board and staff have supported me and the organization that is too many to share all today, but there will be an opportunity to open the space up more for Q&A and have a more of a dialogue later in the day. I have also felt an immense responsibility to build a culture that reflects the world we want to see. Since then, we have paused to reflect. We have paused so that we can grow. We've created new sets of values that now translate into behaviors and practices that make our organization healthier, while investing in people who have been most impacted by policing in cages. We've invested in our infrastructure, creating positions and opportunities for shared leadership. We aligned our work and created organizational structures that reduce burnout, build capacity, make room for mutual aid, rapid response, successful campaigns, and implementation of policies that will bring thousands of people home. We are becoming an organization that is led by directly impacted people at all levels, and I am so proud of us. Today, you'll learn how we got there. You'll learn about the process. You'll learn about the values that now guide our work in our new formation and strategic framework. It was not an easy process, but it was so worth it. And I want to thank our board. I want to thank our staff, our organizational partners, our consultants who supported us in this process. I see you, Jane, you're in the room, and members who really embarked in this journey with us because they trusted us. And a special appreciation to funders and donors who also supported us through this transition and who really trusted us and really leaned in with us so that we can make this possible. And with that trust, there's so many possibilities that we're able to do because of that support and trust. When we're supported and resourced in these ways and the ways that we need, we see the possibilities to be creative, innovative, to push boundaries, and to fight for the real change our community deserves. So thank you for your trust, your patience, your love. And without further ado, I want to transition us into the program and introduce James King, who is now our co-director of programs. We're all getting used to new titles. And who is currently at the Harambe Conference with the Association of Black Foundation Executives in North Carolina. And he's prepared this video for you all, and it's sad that he couldn't be here live with you all.
Good afternoon. Sorry I'm not there in person. As you're watching this, I'm en route to Raleigh, North Carolina, speak at a conference about the Inside Outside Fellowship. I never miss an opportunity to talk about the fellowship. Back in 2020, as our strategic framework was being adapted, the world erupted, first with COVID-19, and then that same spring with the murder of George Floyd. Thanks to deep relationships we had with people in our community and the work we've been doing for decades to vision a world where we reduce violence and harm in the community by investing in care instead of cages, books instead of bars, and recognizing that true safety lies in investment in resources at the community level, we found ourselves in prime position to be even more effective and seek out even larger wins. Coming out of that intense time, we did an internal assessment and realized that if we further align our local and state work, formalize the deep relationships we formed over the last few years by investing in the leadership development of the very people the state has worked hardest to disenfranchise, we can and will continue to be the political home for people who are currently incarcerated, their families and loved ones, and other communities that care deeply about creating a healthier, more inclusive world. The process was arduous but generative. As we were thinking about programmatic alignment, we were also in conversation about our values. Because as Luca Connolly, our consultant extraordinaire, noted, our values are the foundational truths that guide our work. In both our programmatic alignment and our values, we talked to every corner of our community. We sought input and feedback from people who were currently and formerly incarcerated, interns, staff members, the leadership team, and the board of directors. I think it's somewhat expected, or at least I hope it is, that when a new executive director starts, you take the time to get really explicit about organizational values. One of the things I love most about the values work we did last year was that it showed just how aligned we are, even as we had worked mostly virtually over the last few years. Still, the more clarity we bring to our values, the more capacity we're able to offer the movement itself. The language was sometimes different, but to a person, we all upheld these values. Our top line values are prioritizing people most impacted by cages and cops, accountability, Black liberation, interconnectedness, transformation, a culture of care and healing, and self-determination. And when we say prioritizing people most impacted by cages and cops, we mean prioritizing our leadership, our liberation, and our healing. We believe that honoring and supporting our interconnectedness, ability to transform, universal need for care and healing, as well as each person's capacity for self-determination, embodies our hopes for the world we want to live in, one that does not abandon people nor treat them as disposable. Now, more than ever, we're building power by investing in the skills and leadership of people who are most passionate about dismantling the prison industrial complex and getting our people free. We're building deeper relationships with our community by creating more points of engagement, by investing in the thought leadership and skill development of our community, by denying any notions of scarcity, but instead explicitly leveraging our resources to meet our collective strategic goals. We're synthesizing our local and state work. We're going into prisons, we're in the Fruitvale, and we're in the Capitol. We're in youth organizing, and we're in Santa Rita Jail, all with the same goal: to share our access and knowledge of the political process with the community that policymakers most need to hear from, those who are closest to the problems and most invested in the solutions. And in the spirit of interconnectedness, we're creating those points of engagement, not just with EBC and our community, but connecting people regardless of incarceration status with the policymakers who would most benefit from their expertise and perspective. Whether it's We Mentor Us, the Inside Fellowship, or People Power Policies, our values are front and center from the grassroots on up. Next up, my awesome co-director of programs, Emily Harris. She's going to go into more detail about the structure and what our work looks like going forward. Take care and look forward to seeing you all soon.
Hello, everybody. My name is Emily Harris, and I am so honored to be one of the new co-directors of programs with James King. The incredible James King. Him and I have been in so many ways leading the programmatic and policy work of EBC since he was in prison. He has been an incredible mentor for me, and our work together has been so wonderful, and I think it is going to move us immensely into this next phase of the Ella Baker Center. I'm going to tell you all a little bit more of the details about what our work is looking like now and what, like, kind of how we got there. So first, within our program team, we have in the past we're kind of divided into two sub-teams, our organizing team and our policy team. And over the years, we realized that our policy folks were doing state level in addition to policy, and that our local team, in addition to all the amazing base building, work that they were doing and organizing work, that they were also doing policy just more at the local level. And so one of the first places was that we needed to integrate those two teams. And we've had now our team focusing more on specific issue areas that impact both the state and local work. Because I know if you're tracking policing at the Capitol, you need to also know what's going on with policing in Alameda County and in the city of Oakland. And so that's been one of the shifts that we've been making. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure, which we have divided the work of the program team into 3 buckets. And yet one of the things that we find brings the most strength is that all of these areas overlap. And I've been braid, like our work connects. So no specific piece of our programmatic work only falls into one of the areas. And that's been part of what I think really helps us know the best work that we're doing. So I'm going to jump in first to people-powered policy. And under the people-powered policy work, this has been the area where we have really been, as James mentioned, building the power of people who have experienced the most harm by the system and having them lead the policy work to help us bring as many people home as possible and change the conditions for people while they remain in prison. And so one of the incredible things within this kind of structure area of our work has been our Inside Outside Fellowship, which is a paid policy fellowship. And we have folks in prison and people who've been system impacted on the outside who participate. And as our restructuring has advanced, we've also been able to grow the leadership of people who've been involved in the fellowship. So for example, Tan, who was our first Inside Fellow, was released just and now is serving as a policy associate with the Ella Baker Center, and he's running our democracy in action work and really leading that. And then Issa, who was our first outside fellow, is now our campaign manager and helping to run the entire fellowship and bring on new folks. And so that's been like exciting leadership development within the policy work. And then in this same bucket of the people-powered policy is all of the legislative campaigns that we run. We usually have around 4 or 5 policies that we're leading. This year, we're really investing in our democracy in action legislative agenda, working on restoring voting rights for people in prison and also increasing the access to people in county jail who already have the right to vote, but their ability to utilize that right is really difficult when they're imprisoned. So that's one of the bills, and we'll drop in a little bit more information soon for you all so that you can see all the bills that we're working on. Yesterday, we had a great victory, SB 94, which is a bill by Senator Cortese, which allows for people who were sentenced pre-1990 who are serving some of the most extreme sentences, so a death penalty and life without the possibility of parole, having the chance to petition the courts to be resentenced. These are some of the most incredible people who have served decades in prison, including one of our former Inside Fellows, Dortel Williams. And so we know that this population of people is also some of the most expensive to imprison and are the leaders that we need in the community as we fight mass incarceration. And so excited about that bill. It's on to appropriations next. And so I would say one of the other kind of exciting areas within the people-powered policy work has been our emergent policy work, trying to kind of think and plan ahead and use the lessons that we have learned from other work to anticipate the ways that the prison system is going to change and morph. So one of the lessons that we've really been building off of is what we learned in COVID-19, which was that the prison system wasn't ready to protect the lives of our loved ones. And so we are now doing a ton of research with an incredible team from UCLA. We've surveyed 500 people in prison to find out if they believe that the prisons are ready for climate hazards, when we have fires, when we have flooding, when we have extreme heat, and being able to we're assessing all the department's policies about like what their evacuation plans are, and really going to be releasing a report soon in June about some recommendations for policymakers about how we can get ahead of the impact that climate change is going to inevitably have on people in prison who are entirely dependent on the system to have their lives protected. And so we'll have some good policy recommendations coming out soon. And so that's part of this kind of new emergent policy strategy track where we're trying to build on what has been successful, get ahead with new ideas, and also help workshop some of the wins that we've had and share those out with other parts of the country, or things like that. Any victories that can be exported and used to fight mass incarceration in another state, we want to have that be part of our emergent policy strategy. All right, so that's the, I can't get into all the pieces. There's so much to talk about. We do a ton of work, but I think you kind of get a sense of the people power policy bucket. And so now we're going to move on to what we have called the Pathways to Freedom track. And so partly here, this track is one that I have felt incredibly excited about because over, in the last few years, the number of people we've been in communication with who are in prison has quadrupled. Touch with around 9,000 people in state prisons, county jails, and across the country in detention centers, prison hospitals, etc. And so within that, the things that people need for their self-advocacy to be able to address the conditions, but also to fight for their freedom has grown. And we've seen significant happening by the Ella Baker Center and also by our allies that are giving people access to the courts, access to resentencing, access to the possibility of coming home to their families. And so the needs to get people the right information so they can advocate for themselves has grown. So we're continuing, prison mail night. It's a very robust program. We have our next mail night tomorrow, and we've been building capacity to be as responsive to people in prison as we can. Shout out, we have a new program coordinator who just joined us, Amelia, be able to respond to more people as quickly as we can get them some of the incredible resources creating for people to navigate the policies that we have passed. So for example, I think every month we've been sending in hundreds of resentencing guides to people about some of the bills that we've already passed, like the RISE Act. And then we're pretty soon going to be launching a new kind of mini toolkit for people to be able to know how to navigate the Racial Justice Act, which is a bill that we were able to get passed last year that is now going to apply retroactively to people in prison. And so folks are going to need to start preparing their documents and getting ready to navigate and advocate for their release. And so we've seen a lot of people coming home through the Pathways to Freedom work. We've seen some of our folks come home through the advocacy we've done on commutations. We've also been able to see folks like Tan come home from being resentenced by the district attorney in Santa Clara. And so those are incredible victories. And we want to be able to take the lessons that we've learned from being able to advocate from people that we work very closely and share those lessons to the broader community, and then also get lessons back from folks. We have been hearing all about the courts being behind in Los Angeles because people they're so backed up. So many people are being resentenced. What do we do to make sure that people can get their case heard? And so we get that information from inside, and then it allows us to navigate on the ground and work with Los Angeles public defenders to make sure that people are getting the access to justice that they deserve. So the area of the Pathways to Freedom work is a lot about the implementation of policy victories, but it's also been one of the places that we've been able to do some of the kind of more individual advocacy that can be really difficult, like working with district attorneys. So we have a new DA in Alameda County. We've been able to get a couple people resentenced under her. So folks that we have organized with inside who are now home and in the community who were serving incredibly long sentences and are now able to join the fight to end mass incarceration from this side of the wall. And so the Pathways to Freedom work to me is like the place, like my heart feels so connected, because we know and we hear all of the stories of people trying to survive in prison and fighting to be free and trying to come home to their children and to their communities. And this Pathways to Freedom work has allowed us, as we've grown it, to be more responsive and adaptive to people's needs. And I'm so excited to be training more system impacted folks on how to like navigate with each other, how to write a commutation application, how to prepare comments for court. Because we know as EBC, we're never going to be able to alone meet the demand, because we're a very small organization in comparison to the needs within the prison system. So the more that people inside know how to navigate for themselves and can support each other, the better. So that's the Pathways to Freedom work. We're going to go now to the third bucket, which is our power building and community investment area. So as we've been successful in folks coming home, we've also wanted to be able to support them in their freedom journeys on this side. So in building on a legacy of mutual aid work that the Ella Baker Center had been building on during COVID-19, where we knew people needed access to basic materials, diapers, things to keep themselves well. Pandemic, we've kind of moved that vision of kind of pandemic mutual aid and are building out our mutual aid that we're calling the Freedom Fund, where individuals that we've been organizing with who are inside, we're able to provide some financial assistance to them once they come home, with the continuing to build the relationships with them, and then hopefully be plugging them into our membership base, as we've been doing a significant amount of power building and community investment through this bucket. We're in the final stages of hiring a new member organizer. And so the more and more people who we are connected with and families, we want to be able to build them even more, have more pathways for them to join into both our Pathways to Freedom work and to our people power policy work. And that's going to be under our new member organizer, is going to be helping, as we meet with people, identify the right places within the organization that they can fit and share their brilliance with us. This area of work, I think you'd also track liberation. This has been one of our incredible, national narrative shifting work, falls into the NOSL. And so that we've also done a significant amount of base building and mutual aid within that area. So I'm running out of time. So we've got those three buckets. We're excited to answer more questions about how the people power policy, Pathways to Freedom, and power building all integrate. But a real joy to be strengthening our work and to be able to be more powerful in all of the areas that we're trying to move, both in terms of building the power of people while also being able to have significant changes at the local and state level that impact people's day-to-day lives. So I'm going to pass it back to Marlene.
Thank you, Emily. For those of you who know Emily, you know that she has a huge heart, but also Emily, your ability to really guide, teach, and mentor. I know I've definitely had the privilege of being mentored by you. And you do it with such grace. And so I just want to say thank you. Also, congratulations on being co-director of programs with James, and to be able to bear witness to the amazing work that you all are doing together and how you are modeling shared leadership at Ella Baker Center is definitely something that I love that folks here get to bear witness to. So you all have been invited to this space to not only get like an inside look, but because we want to partner with you, because we want you to know what we've been up to, the process it took to get there, and how we're moving forward, and invite you to ask questions and engage with us, because we have a lot of work to do, and we have a lot of work to do together. And so this restructuring has been a lot of work, but has also given us the capacity to operationalize our vision, a vision of creating a world where people have agency over their own healing, their own leadership, where leaders are fueling each other's investment and charting their own self-determined future. we are going to be consistently changing. Now we say we are in the business of change. We are going to be changing and transforming. And the way that we're able to share power and share power to lead will make our organization more impactful and really move our movement to the next level. And so we are committed to continuing to invest in models like, and you've heard from Emily and both James, models like the Inside Outside Fellowship, solutions like Restore Oakland, which is our permanent home and a hub for restorative justice. And We Mentor Us, which is a new initiative, and some maybe folks have heard of it, maybe folks haven't, but it's a new initiative to really invest in the leadership of our staff and members. And we know that it takes resources and investment to support our people and in their leadership. So I'd really want to welcome you all to join us in this work, to help us pour into these leaders. You all may have opportunities that you can open up, that we can open up for each other. We want to invite people to volunteer at Mail Night if that's something you want to do. Of course, make a donation and share also the opportunities we have on our website. We have new jobs. We actually went through 3 waves of hiring, where we went through a first wave of internal hires and promotions, which was very intentional. We've done a new wave of some external hires, and now are looking to bring on some director level positions, which somebody just popped into the chat. So please share those. We're looking for people who want to be here, who are values aligned and want to do this work with us. As a legacy organization, we don't want to just be a legacy organization. We want to walk our talk. We want to make Ella Baker and our ancestors proud. And so we are really excited to just engage in this conversation with you. I want to open it up for Q&A. I know somebody has questions in the chat and want to invite folks to, or Ash, if you want to pop in and see if there's questions. I don't know if folks can unmute themselves, but want to just open it up to hear what questions are coming up for folks. What opportunities is this bringing up for you?
For sure. Thanks, Marlene. Yeah, so folks can feel free to let us know in the chat if you want to unmute, and we can unmute you. Here it looks like we have one question to get us started. Marlene and Emily, what is the bill you're most excited about this year?
I'll let Emily take that one.
No, it's really hard to pick. We're working on some really incredible policies. I think the one bill that I haven't talked about yet that I'm really excited about is a bill that ISA has been leading through a fellowship with the Solis Policy Institute and is partnering with other great organizations, our partners at Uncommon Law, LSPC, and others. And it's a bill, SB 474 by Senator Becker, which is going to reduce the markups on commissary items, so things that people purchase in prison stores. And one of the reasons I really am excited about the bill is that it impacts everybody in state prison and everybody's loved ones. And it's a huge organizing opportunity. I can't even tell you how much mail we're getting, people who are excited about the bill. And so that's the one that's really been motivating from an organizing perspective, and would love for people to support. We just dropped into the chat some of the toolkit. We've got a lobby day coming up. I know there's a lobby day training happening right now. So it'll hopefully be a big victory for our folks, especially thinking about all of the financial burdens that families when trying to support a loved one in prison.
Yeah, no, and I've heard only great things in terms of just like the amount of mail and communication folks have been getting in Sacramento about this. And so, yeah, this is definitely really exciting and really tackles the financial burden for folks. Nobody should be having to pay 3 times as much for a bar of soap, or just to take care of their basic needs. And so, and I think that piece of legislation also speaks to our deep listening, that it is something that we were told this is a priority for folks on the inside. And we leaned into that, and that has been a huge success.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, team. Diana, I would love to have you unmute and ask your question out loud. Is that all right?
I have no idea. I hope I'm not on camera. I'm not ready for that. But yeah, well, thank you for this presentation. I don't usually go to presentations that are about organizational changes, but I just knew that I needed to be here to hear, and I'm very happy I came. So congratulations, Emily. Congratulations, James, and everyone else who has transitioned in this restructuring and organizational development. So yeah, I mean, many, and of course, we in other organizations always want to look to other great organizations to take cues and see where we should be heading. So I just was interested if you could talk more about how the inside outside fellowship actually works, and I mean what it does and how you conceive of it.
Yeah, you can start, Emily, because
Great.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Diana. It means a lot that you're here. And also, I don't know how often I say this, but when I'm trying to explain to somebody about the California Coalition for Women Prisoners, which Diana is a founder of, I say any work that we're working on that's important, we're doing with CCWP. And I feel like that has been really a gift in my time at the Ella Baker Center. So yay for CCWP. Everyone should check them out. They're amazing. But in outside fellowship, so partly how it's James, I wish James was here to answer it. It really it's like his vision. And part of it came out of how him and I had been organizing together when he was in prison. So I would say that in some ways he was the first fellow before we ever had a fellowship. And then he was hired in to be a campaign manager in prison and then joined the Ella Baker Center's team upon release. And so he then was like, how do we resource the folks who are doing incredible organizing on the inside and have more like intentional tracks into like the paid jobs on the outside, which are actually pretty hard for people to be, upon release, like jump right into. And how do we have an on-ramp that also helps people build some of the skills that they need in that transition? And so the fellowship, so how it works, we've had 1 to 3 inside fellows. It's a 9-month fellowship. And we've had folks nominated by inside organizers that we work with. We've had actually CCWP has helped us identify some leaders in the women's prisons that we have interviewed. And then we go through a pretty extensive interview process. We have folks do, review our bill agenda and prepare mock testimony. It's pretty incredible. And then once we have selected the finalists, what we've done is then pair them with policy campaigns. I mean, they kind of tell us which ones they want to work on. So for example, I've been working on our work with the Drop LWOP Coalition around life without the possibility of parole. One of our former inside fellows, Dortel, has been, he calls into the coalition calls. He's in touch with we've had him do one-on-ones with many of the members in the coalition. His uncles come to lobby day. He has done, called into legislative visits. Right now, he's been coming up with talking points about all of the opposition's remarks, pushing back on the bill. And so he's been incredibly involved in helping us craft and think through that strategy. He's now no longer a fellow, but he's still deeply engaged in the campaign and helping us bring on our new fellow, Maceo, who's also serving life without the possibility of parole, but is in a different prison. And Maceo was nominated by Dortel and is now in the fellowship. And then we're helping onboard Maceo through Dortel's experience. And then Maceo is also joining the calls and helping plug into the work. So we try to find specific campaigns for the inside fellows. And then similarly with the outside fellows. And the outside fellows also help us identify really incredible moments where we can be engaged. It's like, oh, this is a moment where we need to ask them a question, or maybe they need to be the person that responds to the reporter's question that we just got, or how do we plug in and increase their organizing opportunities within the organization and with the movement at large? I hope that answers the question. Happy to dig in more. And I don't know, Marlene, you probably have more to offer as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say that fellowships have been a great vehicle for us to really resource folks, resource the organizing that is already happening. I mean, I know, Diana, you know this firsthand. And it starts slow because we want to be able to do deep investment and deep relationship building and transfer skills, vice versa. They're also transferring skills to us in terms of what is happening. And we are looking, as the fellowship grows, we're looking for partners who want to partner with us. So we don't have to like all reinvent the wheel, but like, how can we expand this fellowship into 3 or 4 organizations, and we work together and we share like the systems we've built. That's why James isn't here, because he is sharing the value of having both like our supporters like invest and give us unrestricted funds to do these fellowships, because they know that we know who are the leaders, we have the relationships, and they trust us. And I'm a big advocate for like create an internship, create a fellowship. Sometimes we cut through the tape and the bureaucracy that sometimes we have as 501c3s. And so it has been a really successful way to do what we've already been doing, but actually do deeper investment and deeper relationship building. And so I can't wait to expand and have like fellows we all share. And so.
Beautiful. Thanks, team, and thanks, Diana, for sharing that great question. Jay, I would love for you to ask your question live. Are you available to unmute and share? Cool. I'm happy to just share it out loud and see where we go. So Jay says, power to the people. What other organizations and groups are you in movement with currently to fight these good fights? Oh, Jay is driving. Thank you so much. Yeah, we won't ask you to unmute then for sure. All right, go for it.
Yeah, well, there's no work that EBC really does alone. We have our commitments to other allied organizations, and our work together is so beautiful and really is like what's made so many more recent victories in California possible. I would say we're doing tons of work in coalitions, whether it's the Free Our Kids Coalition at the local level that has other building youth leaders like Courage and the Young Men's Freedom Center. There's other partners locally there. There's the DA accountability table that the ACLU and Debug have been helping hold down. So it's where a lot of the kind of campaign work ends up in coalitions, and many of the coalitions continue to like work together. So for example, we had worked for a time on sentencing reform work with groups like CURB or Drug Policy Alliance. And then that work has continued to grow over multiple campaigns over multiple years. And then I think we want those tables to be really committed to having organizations that really support and prioritize the leadership of folks who have experienced whatever the campaign is addressing, that the people who've experienced that harm or know about it from their day-to-day experience are essential in the decision-making and the movement of those campaigns. So the campaign I was mentioning before, SB 94, which is the bill around LWOP and death penalty resentencing for old cases, that has come out of the movement, the Drop LWOP movement, which has really been led by lots of folks who have gotten clemency by the prior governors. And it's a lot of small grassroots organizations that want to address extreme sentencing. We've got a ton of, we have our inside fellows. So we have currently incarcerated people, formerly incarcerated people, families, but then also we're partnering with folks who have the legal expertise, whether it's like our allies at Smart Justice or at the ACLU, who also are prioritizing that leadership and sharing their knowledge to help us have the most impact within those campaigns. So there's so many people that we organize with. Everybody, if actually this would be a great thing for folks to drop in the chat. If you are part of a community-based org and you're connected to EBC, who are you? And we love working with you.
Yeah, I think I saw folks from Community Works in there, and definitely working closely with Silicon Valley Debug on implementation of the Racial Justice Act. Urban Peace Movement is leading the Free Our Kids Coalition, and then just ditto to all the names you said, Emily. There's so many folks that we're working with, and I think that just shows the power of our work and the power we're building here in the Bay Area and across the state.
Beautiful. Yes, I really appreciate it. Awesome. Hi, Dara. Nice to see you. Jesse, would you like to come off mute and share your question?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. So I'm Jesse Clyde Burleson. I work at LSPC, Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, which I'm sure y'all probably familiar with. And so we're working on ACA 8 and want to support ACA 4 as well. And I was wondering if you guys are working on ACA.
So we're one of the co-sponsor organizations on ACA 4, which would pass, require a 2/3 vote, and would then put on the ballot a constitutional amendment to guarantee the right to vote for people who are currently in state prisons. So we've been part of that coalition with some incredible orgs, Legal Women Voters, Initiate Justice Action. So we've been kind of at front and center on that bill. In terms of ACA 8, which is working on addressing, California's Constitution prohibits slavery, except there's this kind of loophole when people are in prison. So trying to really address and end slavery for everybody in California. So ACA 6 is being run by a lot of our allies. I'm guessing, Jesse, that LSPC is part of the front and center. We're not co-sponsoring, but have been encouraged by, Dolores Canales and others have been reaching out to us to support, and we're down and really excited that you all are leading that effort. And I know there's been big victories in Colorado and other parts across the country in addressing this issue. And so I think the ACAs are really, it's like a new area of policy for me, working on get something passed through the legislature and then getting it to the voters. It's a long process, but also I think it also shows that we've won a lot of the kind of majority bills, things that we can pass with 51% of the legislature. And now we get to take on some of the more harder fights. And I feel excited about both of those policies as kind of exemplary of the next phase that we're in.
And Jesse, just want to say kudos and thank you for all the hard work you're doing over there at LSPC.
For sure. Thanks so much. And this will be our last question. Thank you all so much for sharing so many beautiful questions in the chat. We will have more opportunities to connect. Obviously, this isn't the end. And so if you have more questions, you can always email us. I'll put my email in the chat, ellabakercenter.org. And we'll have more ways to connect as we wrap up. But I would just love for Adrian, if you want to hop off mute and share your question, you can help us wrap up.
Can you hear me? I think I'm off mute. Great, thank you. Hi, this is Adrienne Hogue. I'm the co-executive director of Community Works. First of all, just want to say, so wonderful always to be in coalition with the Ella Baker Center, and you guys have been a longtime partner of Community Works. So we're looking forward to more in the future, and so exciting to hear about your new structure. The question is will the Restore Oakland Center be available again for doing restorative community conferences. Community Works was using your facility prior to the pandemic in our restorative circle work to divert youth from the juvenile justice system, and really wanting to just know if that's available again as we start these conferences up in person.
Yeah, and Adrian, congratulations and thank you. I know Community Works has been a part of the vision of Restore Oakland since the beginning, and definitely before I even got to EBC and got to do some digging and reading. And I'm like, wow, you all have really, you were there from the gate, from the beginning. And the building is open again. There is restorative justice circles happening now. They really are being led by Restore Oakland Inc., who is really doing community circles. But yes, let's connect. We would love to have you all back in there and doing more. I mean, our goal is to use this space, make it a hub for restorative justice. We want to make sure that people are utilizing the resources there and using and the space is beautiful. For those of you who haven't been there, please come. I invite you all to come and visit. There's a lot of really open space in the restaurant, the front part of the restaurant, so that folks don't have to cram into small rooms. And we've been able to really utilize spaces like the parking lot. And if we have to hold circles outside just to keep folks safe, so we've been doing that as well too. So yes,
Great.
all of that. And I
Oh,
can't.
perfect. Thank you. I'll have our team reach out to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, everyone, for sharing your beautiful questions. And we'll pass it to Marlene to wrap us up.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for all of your thoughtful questions, for engaging in us. This is an invitation. This is an invitation into the work to work with us, to work side by side, to like lock elbows and do this work. And really just want to appreciate you all for spending this time with us. And thank you so much. We share this work with you all because we want to be in deep relationship with you. And so just again, please share the resources, the job postings, come to mail night. Let us know if there is some follow-up you all would like. Maybe there is like a deeper dive in the, like, what are some of the structural things that we put in place to launch the Inside Outside Fellowship. We are happy to share this stuff. This is not something we want to like keep just to ourselves. We want to share it. We want to share it with you because we want to be in deep partnership and in deep relationship with you and really value our work together. So thank you. And a lot of gratitude and appreciation for all of you. And this wraps up our lunchtime presentation and share out. And welcome you all to email us. Everyone's email is their first name at ellabakercenter.org. And so I don't think they're on the website, but just their first name, ellabakercenter.org. Please feel free to email us and follow up and come visit us if you are local and in Oakland. Please come. Our home is your home. Thank you.